Because spring arrives tonight at 11:06, and that's when we say goodbye to the warmest winter on record. And right now, we're joined live by Environment Canada senior climatologist Dave Phillips. Dave, good afternoon. It's like every time we talk, there's no good news. Is there anything good that comes out of this?
Well, I think people save lots of money on their home heating bills, if that's what we're referring to, the winter that was lost. I mean, my gosh. And you're right, Bakari. There are winners and losers, but certainly getting around was easier and very un-Canadian what we saw. But hey, let me warn you that in Toronto, even in a normal kind of spring, we've never had a spring without some snow. And so we're going to see a little bit more. On average, be about 14 centimeters of snow before it all's over. But I'm not saying that this is that year where we're going to see that amount. But clearly, we shouldn't write the final chapter on winter like weather. But oh, Bakari, come on! I mean, this was really the winter that didn't happen. We had every month was warmer than normal, an all-time record. We'd have to go back downtown in Toronto, back to the 1840s, and no other winter was warmer than what we saw this year. This is historic, unprecedented. And of course, it had implications for some people, for sure.
Okay, but Dave, you said go back all the way to 1840. Now, I want to get your take on this. So UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says that, this latest report, it shows that the planet is on the brink. Can you explain that and, talk about the bigger picture?
Well, I always think, Bakari, I mean, I don't want to be a crepe hanger. I think there's so many things that are happening that's morose and gloomy and doomy. So I always say, enjoy the weather, but be concerned by the climate. Our climate has warmed up just unprecedentedly warm now. We have to go back to a geological record, and we still think that this is the warmest ever we've seen. We've seen this winter was not just the warmest in Toronto. It was the warmest in Canada, the warmest in North America, the warmest globally. And for good reason. And we're just not prepared for it. I think that, we're still assuming that normal weather occurs. Like, summers are hot and winters are cold. So all this flip-flopping back and forth, these surprises, these extremes, we're just not, we don't have the infrastructure or the knowledge to be able to know how to handle it. And so that's why we're seeing the impacts, greater disasters. We know that climate change does cause extreme weather to become more extreme. And so I think there is just a lot of concern. And it doesn't just affect, Bangladesh and Botswana. It affects Burlington and Brandon and Burnaby too in Canada. So it's not just something on the other side of the world. So there's a lot to be concerned by. But I also think, hey, if it's a nice day and you like it and the weather is great, hey, enjoy it. But hey, I think the long-term climate is very concerning to every person on planet Earth.
Okay, Dave, let's try to wrap things up on somewhat of a good note. Spring comes in tonight at 11:06. Let's talk about the cherry blossoms and then, the other part of spring, maybe the pollen. Maybe that's not such a good thing.
Yeah, Bakari, I think there are winners and losers to this. We certainly saw the maple syrup season. My gosh, it started early, it was over quickly, and the quality's not that great. So when things are not normal, you have problems. Certainly the cherry blossoms, I'm not one that knows too much about it, but I know that like everything else, it must be earlier than we've normally would see. I mean, because after all, people are suffering from overdose of pollen. Normally what they would be gasping and wheezing in May, they're doing it in March because the trees are now budding. You can see that. The lake, the ice is gone. I mean, it really has been a real advance to the spring season. So we've already felt spring. Hey, a little bit of winter as we come back here for the next day or two, but our models say going ahead, it looks warmer than normal, both for the spring and in the summer period. So warm, warm, warm is the obvious script for the seasons that we're experiencing this year.
And I'm okay with that. Environment Canada senior climatologist Dave Phillips, always a pleasure. Thanks, Dave.